So I got a pretty disturbing phone call on July 3rd notifying me that Adult Protective Services has deemed that whatever their investigation was is inconclusive. And I believe it was based on the report of this guy who sexually propositioned me and groped me and grabbed at me and offered me positions at multiple jobs he has, trying to get in my pants or get with me, and then pinned me down against my will, crushing my ribs and pinching my arms and pressing his erection on me non-consensually. That guy. So adult protection had to investigate him, and it's inconclusive. And I wrote back a really long email. Well, I asked as many questions as I could on the phone, and I'm getting a copy of the report. But I asked more questions by email, including what are appeal rights, what is the Oregon state law under which you have authority, or the scope of your inquiry, or how many inconclusive investigations would have to occur before someone would be under serious inquiry, or it's just like, sort of like, well, if you can inconclusively assault 5 women, or 10 women, or 20 women, like, how many does it take? And the whole premise is, like, there were no secret cameras running, so therefore, and I guess he's not at the point of a confession yet. So, maybe because he works with seniors and elderly and disability, his assaulting of me puts his work in jeopardy, I would think. But in some ways, I feel, let's say, pleased, sad as intrigued. I feel intrigued that a female Adult Protective Services worker had to speak to him, and that I'm sure was very embarrassing. But it's the very least that should be occurring in terms of ascertaining safety for vulnerable people. I was not safe around him. I will never hang out with him again. Never, never, including in a public setting, due to his extreme and gross sexual harassment. So, why he's still employed, working with women, vulnerable people, coordinating volunteers, supposedly. He tried to coordinate me after the assault, kind of wrote me into his little world as if that would be some kind of enticement to keep silent. I remember after this assault, as I'm walking him home, he's like, oh, what am I going to tell everyone? And I really placated him. I said, don't tell anyone anything. I said nothing happened. Brenda doesn't have to know, blah, blah, blah. And he was really panicking, as well he should be, because he got really out of control when he pinned me down. And each and every grope, every time he tried to brush my knees or sideswipe my breasts and put his arm around me, that was all wrong. And I am so annoyed with myself for not kicking him out the second he told me he had herpes, because I knew something was not working there. I was like, wait a minute, you work with disabled and elderly, and now you're springing this, talking about sleeping with me. And he was in between me and the door. And I remember feeling like I'm just scooting from position to position. I mean, in some ways I was like, why didn't I scream? I finally realized that. Why didn't I scream? Like Mary says, don't blame yourself. I lived in a pretty intense building with a lot of elderly, special needs kinds of people. He was preying on a disability building, which certain kinds of predators look for disabled or vulnerable people for their sexual prey. And I remember distinctly feeling like, well, I could call police. I was like, I don't want to deal with them right now. And I wanted to get him as far away from the vulnerable people as possible. I did not want to loose him out into the hallways of my building of disabled people. So I walked him myself so he would be very far away from my door, because I even felt like if I just let him out the door, maybe he'll come back again or sneak back in or something. It was strange. I'm very brave. I hate to say that. I am brave. I've walked into danger so many times. I didn't see this one. In my mind, I thought, okay, you have like some little crush on me. You're sleeping with this girl, you're dating this girl, and you have a crush on me. I figured, okay, I'll try to be your friend and talk out your life. I figured, okay, you might smile at me. I didn't think he was going to grope and grab and pin me down when I had told him to stop it. He was reminding me of abusers, other abusers. He was reminding me of other abusers. And he'd start again, as if he couldn't even control himself, or he wasn't paying attention, or, ooh. I told him how I wasn't attracted to him, how I was dating someone else, how I just survived an attempted murder from my ex. Like, could you please back off a person who's just survived the attack I experienced the year before? You want to force me to do things non-consensually when I've had to have cops show up to taser my psychotic stalking ex? And you work for the vulnerable people? And why don't you just go down to the domestic violence center and start groping those women as they come out? Like, freak. Such a poor judgment. I remember thinking, oh, he's trying to show me how strong he is. He's trying to show me that he's into sadism. And I was thinking, how extremely weak of character that you would pin me down like this. How extremely weak. You're a very weak man. And even though I was completely overpowered, in my mind, I knew he was like nothing in terms of character and dignity and respect. And my respect for him was plummeting when he started talking about trying to take me on a trip. And I'm just like, why are you talking to me like this? I barely know you. You barely know me. You don't even know anything about what I like to do. And ugh. He's unattractive to me. And I should have just been so freaking blunt about that. But I think when it comes down to it, when he started pitching his herpes junk at me, I was starting to think, this guy's psycho. If I move too quickly or get too in his face, just like with Ben, when I'm like, okay, I'm going to call 911 if you don't calm down. Like, if I had gotten really blunt, that he might have just lashed out then. So I might not have had as much time to manage the assault. So it was at that point, maybe I knew an assault was coming, and I was managing it. I was managing grope after grope, brush it off. I told you not to do that, don't do that, stop. And in my foolishness, his grooming made me think, oh, he's this stupid, goofy, nerdy kid who wants to be my new best friend. And if I felt like if I could keep his sexual harassment down, the friendship could exist, the jobs, the radio, blah, 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 the opportunities could go on. But that unfair offering of enticement as a quid pro quo, like, I'll give you this job if you let me do X, Y, Z to you. But I think it's almost fortunate that I had sort of suspected he made a few little references in these social settings to me thinking, oh, is he into me? This is weird. But just cutting to the chase, like figuring out what he was like or what's his deal, I was even less, I wasn't interested to begin with, but I was even less, I was like, oh wow, so you're violent, delusional, arrogant, presumptuous, gross, don't use condoms, have DUIs, former alcoholic, sleeping with your ex, verbally abusive with her, she's suicidal, she chases you in cars, and you don't understand what groping is and how that's really not okay. You're acting like a super predator hustler. Oh, God, he's a nightmare of a person, like a train wreck. And I feel sorry for people that are so out of it. I felt sorry for them. And I was so polite. This is the funny thing. This is actually funny. I was waiting for him to get to his big spiel about, like, my parents are so rich, so therefore you should leave your gorgeous boyfriend that you're actually attracted to and come away with me. And I remember at one point trying to think, like, dude, this guy is just so hitting on me. And it's before it got violent. I remember thinking, like, could I even get into him? Even slightly? And it was kind of like, there are certain guys that make you want to kind of puke a little bit. And, like, you might like them for their personality or to talk to, but you would never want to have to do anything sexual with them. And it was almost like, ooh, just putting the thought in my mind, because it, like, wasn't there. I told him, because he's hitting on me so bad, I'm just having to, like, process, like, oh God, ew. And well, I told him at one point, I was like, telling him he's like so tall, like he's really tall, but I was like, I don't look at you that way, like referring to how tall he is. And he just kept like ignoring me or just talking about something else. And I was like, no, I don't look at you that way. I don't look at you that way. And I told him, you look like my brother. He finally got that like 3 weeks later. Oh, I look like your brother. It's really gross to have someone who looks like your brother hitting on you. It's like pukey gross. It's incest taboo gross. To have someone who looks like my brother pinning me down, pressing his erection on me, that's gross. In defiance of the fact that I have a boyfriend that you met, like, I barely had met him once when Brenda brought him to a movie. The next time he met my guy that I'm into. Why would he be trying to take me away from my happiness, my love, and my family? And I felt so, his sexual tactics of predation made me feel like I was on trial, that I was having to give him information and give him more reasons and more reasons. And as the gropes kept coming, I'm like giving him more and more reasons why this is weird. And my politeness, women, stop being polite. I would say stop being polite. But sometimes if you're like, fuck you, you're ugly, dude, that's when you might get like smacked in the face and stuff. So I don't know what to tell you. Maybe our politeness is our life-saving skills. I'm lucky he didn't choke me. I'm lucky he didn't put a knife to my throat. I'm lucky he didn't rape me. I was really thrilled to find out he didn't rape. So that's cool. But rubbing your erection on people is a crime. It's a crime. It's wrong. It's a violation of state law. It's just not nice. It's undignified. And it provides a poor representation of your company for you to be doing that out on weekends. And I don't know how they would trust you with any female employees. I wouldn't if I were in your management. Among other things.